There we go. What video are we going to check out? This video right here is 2 weeks old. The man who murdered Charlie Kirk. Now, I don't want to be political. I will on occasion give maybe a political opinion or ask a political question, but I believe that nobody needs to know who I vote for, nor do they need to know why I vote for them. It is very simply my right to keep that information to myself. However, I am curious about the piece of shit that put a bullet through Kirk's neck. So we're going to check it out.
On the morning of September 10th, 2025, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson decided he wouldn't be attending his electrical apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College. At 8:23, he walked to his gray Dodge Challenger, and a little while later, he drove off to Utah Valley University. 3 hours after that, at 11:49, he exited his car wearing a different set of clothes, a cap, dark sunglasses, and visibly limping toward the parking lot adjacent to the UVU campus. He walked up the parking lot stairs, headed to the Low C Center, and then was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, conservative speaker Charlie Kirk was hosting one of his debate events on campus, roughly 200 yards away from where Tyler was. At exactly 12:23, a single shot rang out, piercing the left side of Kirk's throat, sending the entire campus into chaos. Although he was quickly rescued and rushed to the hospital, he only lasted for about an hour when his passing was officially confirmed. To add to the already extremely tragic situation, CCTV footage showed Tyler, then unknown to the authorities.
I'm sorry, I like that my cat was like shaking visibly, like, oh boy, what? What's going on? There we go.
Fleeing the scene and successfully evading capture, seemingly holding on to a bag with his weapon in it. Part of why he was able to escape were two people who drew attention to themselves immediately after the attack took place.
So weird.
The first is George Zinn, who falsely confessed to the shooting and was promptly detained, and was recorded being escorted by the police with his pants down, as he repeatedly asked them.
Fuck that guy. Dude, fuck this guy too. Why, like, why even... Wait, is that a bug? Oh, that's cool.
To shoot him.
We don't know if it's him or not.
As it turns out, George Zinn is a man with a lifelong career of being a deranged nuisance orbiting political events. There are pictures of him accosting the former Utah House Speaker Greg Hughes, as well as former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. But more importantly, George is on record claiming to have personally witnessed 9/11 and instantly knowing that Al-Qaeda was behind it. Given Zinn's profile, this was most likely a tall tale, a false account to get attention. Something similar happened in 2013, when shortly after the Boston Marathon bombing, he emailed the Salt Lake City Marathon organizers and offered to help place bombs, which got him arrested for the threats. Other things noted in his...
I've always felt that, like, alright, this may sound like really fucked up of me to say, but I've always believed that if you're really into politics, you're probably mentally unwell. And the only reason I say that is because politics is really depressing. Oh boy. Oh, fuck. Because politics is like super depressing. I don't see why anybody would willingly like subjugate themselves to like, oh boy, new political thing. Yes, I love this. It's like that sounds so crazy to me.
Legal records are commitments to mental hospitals, being arrested for theft of services, failure to disclose his identity, jaywalking, and other stuff like that. Due to the extremely controversial nature of this entire thing, George Zinn ended up being massively misreported as being Jewish, a narrative that found its way even to former NFL star Antonio Brown. However, George is actually a mentally ill man of Greek descent, with a Mormon religious background and a history of pulling this kind of stunt. Just a little while after he was detained, they noticed that he had no weapon on him, and there was no weapon discarded in the area he was in, meaning he couldn't have committed the crime. This doesn't mean he was innocent though, as when the police brought him in for processing, he had a medical issue that led to him being taken to a local hospital. There, he admitted that he did what he did to purposely hinder law enforcement from getting the real guy, and when asked by cops for his phone, he volunteered, but not before informing the police that he had illegal material involving children on it. As if that weren't enough, he then specified to the cops that he was in possession.
Wait, what? That shit was real? I thought, okay. All right, I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there. I was like, really? This? I was like, well, the profile makes sense, but there's no way that could be true, because why would you willingly hand that over to the police? And it turns out, yes, that was true. Okay, well.
Possession of the material for his own gratification and had a preference for girls from ages 5 through 12. Given this guy already has dozens of previous cases, I hope he stays locked up for good. Another person of interest that immediately emerged following the attack was a man named David, who was recorded cheering and chanting USA immediately following the shot. While this man's full name is harder to find than George Zinn's, he actually took to Twitter to
find this man.
Identify himself as the one chanting, trying to explain that he did it to draw attention so the security team could escape. At face value,
that doesn't make sense.
Extremely suspicious, and although it's unsure if this was the second person whom law enforcement detained, it would make sense given he gave them a good reason to believe he was at least involved with whoever committed the assassination. However, a brief examination of his social media account makes it clear as day that this man too is clearly suffering from some intense delusion. In videos he posted, he suggests that Charlie Kirk was a soldier of his and speaks from the perspective of every major religion, which you don't need to be a mental health specialist to recognize as a telltale sign of schizophrenia.
You see, this is what I mean, right? All these people, like that guy, this guy, the Zen guy, the David gentleman here, they're mentally fucking ill. So it's like being into like being at a political, like anything political, it just drives mentally ill people to come to you. It's I don't think it's weird. I think it's because of like most mentally ill people are all right, this sounds so fucked up, but it's like because most mentally ill people, when they see someone who has a little bit of power, for some reason they assume that person is like important because of like, oh, he speaks to this many people. This man's clearly powerful. I need to get in contact with him. I see this all. I mean, I shouldn't say I see this all the time, but like I have seen this a few times in my life working in like healthcare. Excuse me. Like I've seen this a number of times working in healthcare. I knew a guy who was like, you don't understand, I need to speak to President Biden. President Biden needs to speak with me. And we're like, that's great, man. That's great. That's cool. Cool, man. Awesome. And one of the rules about like, with not mental patients, we have to call them, all right, we can't call them mental patients because it could hurt their feelings, but we call them behavioral health patients, which it's like, all right, I'll be nice to the guy who's screaming at the top of his lungs about how the world's going to end, but gotta be that guy. Wait, did I say that's an apple tree? Oh my god, yeah, apple tree. Hold up, can I dig this up? Hold up. I dug the ground underneath the apple. I was trying to like pick up the apple tree, not whatever. Here, I'll put the soil back. I was trying to dig up the apple tree by the roots. I thought I could. I don't know. Let's keep going.
George and David clearly committing obstruction of justice. There is no evidence indicating that they were in on what happened. Over the course of the next day, law enforcement swarmed the location and started piecing together the shooter's movements leading up to the assassination. And a series of strange things were discovered. While examining the vantage point...
Sorry, what I need Oh, God. I hate... I'm sorry. The allergies are still kicking my ass, but I'm feeling a lot better.
And CCTV footage that showed his escape from the scene, they eventually found that the killer had dumped his weapon nearby, wrapped in a towel. The weapon, which is a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle with a mounted scope, was found along...
This is so fucked up to say, but I like buying guns. This is a gun that I do want to own. However, as I've been getting a little bit older, I've been buying guns. I like guns. But one of the things I've been doing is I've noticed a pattern when I buy rifles. All right, now tell me if I'm crazy, but this is a pattern I've started to notice every time I buy a rifle. The first rifle I purchased, my AR-15, after purchasing it, the first assassination attempt against Trump happened. And I was like, oh God, oh no. That's a terrible thing to happen, right? And then I go to buy my second rifle, which is like a bit older of a rifle. And after I buy that rifle, the second attempt happened on Trump's life. And I was like, that's weird that it happened twice. Surely nothing bad will happen if I buy a third one. But I'm not going to lie, I was a little superstitious. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just not going to buy a rifle for a while. And I didn't. I didn't buy a rifle for a while. But then I bought another rifle. Immediately, a day later, not 2 days later, Charlie Kirk gets shot dead. I'll be honest, I'm seeing a pattern. I don't think I'll be buying rifles for maybe a couple of years. I need to stop buying rifles.
With its bullets. The casing, which was spent, had the words, "Notices bulge, oh whoa, what's this?" engraved on it. If you're familiar with this kind of language, which I unfortunately am, this is a meme phrase usually associated with traps. Basically, the idea of it being that the speaker is attracted to a person who looks like a woman, only to find out that they have a bulge, which the speaker is then interested in. And the word "oh being a classic emote associated with anime.
Yo, check this out.
The irony here is obvious, as Charlie Kirk is infamous for his opposition to transgenderism. So having this phrase engraved on it immediately suggests a political motive. There were 3 more casings, all of which were unspent. The first one read, cool. "Hey fascist, catch," followed by an up arrow, a right arrow, and 3 downward arrows, which is the stratagem code for the Eagle 500-kilogram bomb.
Yeah, this one I was like, oh my God. The moment I saw that that was an engraving on it, immediately I was like, okay, so all the shit on here, all the shit that this guy wrote, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. The moment I saw up, right, down, 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 I was like, okay, clearly this guy is just memeing for the rifle on his cartridges.
Like the previous casing, this one also had a clear political message with an internet culture related element. The second unspent casing had a brief passage of the song Bella Ciao on it, an old Italian folk song closely tied to the anti-fascist movement. Again, clearly political in nature. Although, unlike the other ones, this one has no internet subculture aspect to it. Lastly, the third unspent casing read, "If you read this, you are gay. Lamau." These casings alone strongly suggested that whoever the shooter was, it was someone young, at least someone young enough to be familiar with these online phrases. Unfortunately, even with the prints being lifted from the weapon, they weren't able to identify a culprit. At least to the public's knowledge, these...
I will say, when all this was happening, it felt like shit was moving slow, but the reality is, it's moving at normal pace. It took them 2 to 3 days to catch this fucking guy, which is normal. All right. I'm not gonna lie. I was fucking heated. And you can ask one of my friends. I was sitting there. I was heated. I heard they caught a guy, and I'm just screaming. I'm like, that son of a bitch did it. He's got to have done it. There's no other way. Gank him. Send him out of here. But it was an emotional response, right? I was like, yeah, that guy's a piece of shit. Fuck him. May he perish. May he suffer the strong arm of justice. I could make tools out of limestone, couldn't I? Or is it not soft enough as a rock to do it? Actually, hang on.
Prints didn't immediately reveal the shooter's identity, although they would become useful whenever a person of interest was detained. For the next day or so, despite information slowly being made available to the public, it didn't seem like law enforcement were making significant progress in the case.
Yeah.
Given how high profile an incident...
But this is what I mean, right? We as people don't really, we're not privy to what the law enforcement knows. And it's better that we don't have information. We'll only need certain little drops of information. Because the reality is, any one of us could have pulled that trigger. Any one of us could have been the one to... Oh, hang on. Take that flight. There we go. Any one of them could have been the person to take him down. Now, when I say take him down, I don't mean like I support that he was taken down. I mean, anyone could have pulled the trigger. That's what I'm saying. And in this case, it was some fuck-ass person who was around my age. I could never imagine, like, I cannot imagine disagreeing with someone so politically that I would kill them. Like, to me, that's insane. Like, all right, here's, you know what? I don't like Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker, as a political entity, I think would be better off if he just stopped, like, talking. But I would never go out of my way to, like, harm him. Like, all right, there's nothing that can be accomplished by killing someone who you politically disagree with. And you may sit there and think, oh, no, lethality, look at the history books. Look at what was accomplished with the assassination of this guy or this guy. No. All you've done, all this kid accomplished, only thing he accomplished was making a martyr. That's all he did. I bet he's sitting there in jail right now. Or not jail, sorry. I think he's on trial. He's sitting there going, oh my God, what have I started? I thought this would end everything because he's stupid. But shocker, you didn't accomplish nothing. Congratulations. All you did was rob the world of a... Oh my God, wait, what? How did I cut... Oh, all right, okay, how did I cut... Whatever. You accomplished nothing, and you gained nothing. Congratulations, you played yourself.
It was, and how much it had inflamed the United States as a whole, people were pretty worked up. And unsurprisingly,
I did not mean to place
they launched their own investigations. Once again, things get a little tricky, but this time around, it's a bit more complicated. It's important to say that as far as any of us know, none of these people are responsible for, implicated in, or in any way related to the assassination. However, it is important to take everything into consideration, especially considering how ominously foreshadowing some of the posts I'm about to talk about are. The first of these is a set of tweets by someone named Omar, with multiple Twitter handles. The tweets from the 9th
boy, it got really dark in my room.
Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him, literally. Let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. After the shooting happened, this person came back to Twitter to say, Charlie Kirk got shot. Bro, I promise I didn't have anything to do with it. But I called it, and it's so deserved. Eventually, this person took down their own Twitter account, and someone completely unrelated took the other handle to prevent it from being taken and used by scammers. Side note, this only kind of worked because if you look up the handle on Twitter now, the first result is a fake account promoting
oh boy, we better hurry. We gotta go back.
In the name of Charlie. Pretty disgusting stuff. As people saw this tweet and had a revelation of someone who accurately called that this would happen, someone looked up that handle on Google, found the first picture of a person, and then spread the claim that this person was Omar or Najra Galv's, their Twitter handle. The thing is, if you look up someone's Twitter handle online and go on the images tab, you may get the images of any account that may be associated with theirs for whatever reason. They could have replied to each other.
Yeah, I saw that picture as well. Part of me, I'm not gonna lie, part of me was like giggling. I was like, there's no way the son of a bitch who killed Charlie was a fucking trans person. Although it would be believable, wouldn't be the first time. I better hurry. I hear some shit behind me. Give me a moment. I'm just sprinting. I will turn back on the video momentarily. I just need to sprint back home and close myself in very quickly, very quickly. Well, technically, it's not night yet. Hang on, let me get... I need... Boom, boom. There we go. All right. Back to
other years ago, and it pops up. In this case, the person in the image is an account named Michaela Ultra from Seattle, whose account is now protected. The thing is, decoupling these two accounts was not enough for a lot of people, who promptly went through their tweets and found a reply from Michaela Ultra to a limited account that expressed they weren't fans of Charlie Kirk. Additionally, 2 other tweets were screenshotted, which read, "I'm crashing out. Coming apart at the seams. You're watching it live in real time. Keep your eyes peeled on the news." When someone replied to them suggesting they would be the next trans shooter, Michaela Ultra replied by saying, "Finally someone who is smart enough to read between the lines and figure out what all my Dr. Pepper posting is about." Now, as ominous as all of that sounds, especially since these tweets were made just a day prior to the assassination, and Michaela bearing some resemblance to AI-enhanced CCTV images of the assassin, the explanation to these tweets lies in the mention of Dr. Pepper. None of the tweets made on the day prior to the attack had anything to do with Charlie Kirk, conservatism, and it clearly wasn't serious, as they were all related to DMs exchanged with the Dr. Pepper Twitter account, demanding to talk to the real Dr. Pepper. On Instagram, they made a post saying, "I am suspended."
I'm sorry. I too would like to speak with the real Dr. Pepper.
From Twitter, so I can't post proof of life there, but I would like to confirm that I am not the Charlie Kirk shooter. As far as I could tell, Michaela or Michaela Ultra never hinted at doing anything to Charlie Kirk, nor condoned what happened on the 10th. As far as who was really behind the Omar Twitter account, one person was found. First name Omar, last name Najera, like the Twitter handle, who also identified specifically as non-binary, just like the Twitter account. However, this person hasn't spoken out as of yet, and again, there is no specific evidence tying them to the crime. There was someone else, however, with much more incriminating material on their socials. Much like what happened to Michaela, as people ravenously dug through online posts to find evidence of someone connected to that Omar account who had hinted at what would happen to Kirk, they found a certain Sky Valadez. Sky was a member of a band called God's Finest Scalpel, or simply God's Finest, which was featured on a post of account Click Click Boom. Here, they're tagged as Straight Death. And if that name wasn't suggestive enough of some kind of terrorism, God's Finest had a song titled Charlie Kirk Dead at 31, which was up on its SoundCloud long before the attack happened.
That's one hell of a fucking... Wow, okay. Well then. Well, I mean, they called it.
And a similar song called Charlie Kirk's Death Isn't Enough for Me on Bandcamp, from an album titled Death to American Scum. While that is all pretty on the nose, it could just be excessively edgy trans activism. When people took to the comments of the Dead at 31 song on SoundCloud, Sky replied, "I'm not a student at any college. I don't support political violence. This song was a massive coincidence, and I'm leaving it at that. I will not take this down, as I believe in my First Amendment rights, and I believe that if you think this is disgusting, you're worried about the wrong thing." This response could have laid the issue to bed, but the people looking into this stuff weren't just looking for potential culprits, but also anyone who knew about the real shooter's plans and didn't report it or try to prevent it in any way. Despite being seemingly completely exonerated, Sky also took to Instagram. "I am not the shooter, nor a current alumni at UVU. I had a dream back in March of this year when I recorded and debuted this song on SoundCloud. It's complicated and cheesy, but I did foresee the death of Charlie Kirk this year. However, not at a conference and not by the hand of a gun. I've never been a fan of Charlie Kirk, mostly because I live under the LGBTQ+ umbrella and disagree with everything he says. Then again, I hate all politicians and politics because it's such a wildfire of a situation already. I do not support the shooting in any way, but I am relieved that a Nazi sympathizer is no longer wasting my oxygen." Unsurprisingly,
I love that. I love that so much. It seems like every one of these fucking schizo fuckers are always like, "I do not condone political violence, but I'm glad this person I hate is dead." Yeah. And it's like, wow, okay, well, you're like, essentially that just means you don't condone political violence if it's done against someone you like. But I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad. He sits there, he's like, yeah, you know what? I don't like political violence. It's bad. It's all bad. But I cannot lie. I am glad that this guy, who I do not like, is dead. And if you don't like that I made this song, you're worried about the wrong thing. Well, I don't really care that you made the song. It's more of like, The fact that it happened, you know? There we go. Boom. We're making a charcoal pit, if anybody's wondering.
Surprisingly, that second half did very little to quell suspicions about potential foreknowledge.
I would agree.
So people kept digging, and eventually they found a second Instagram account that belongs to Sky called letters_2_bishop. This account had a post with a picture of another band, presumably also in Utah, where one of the members bore a striking resemblance to the aforementioned Omar Najera. This led some people to
it really does look like the other guy.
Speculate that they were bandmates, but as per God's Finest bio before Charlie Kirk's death, it was a band of one. There was one last person who was similarly picked up by Twitter as potentially having foreknowledge, because just a day prior to the incident, they had said, September 10th will be a very interesting day. While this tweet got tens of millions of views, they continued to be active on Twitter and showed proof that they very frequently made this kind of tweet. So sooner or later, this kind of coincidence would happen by sheer volume. Now,
wow, okay. Well, I was thinking, wow, September 10th will be a very interesting day. Oh my God!
Yes,
and then
they continued to be active on Twitter, and
it's just
showed proof
every
that
day.
They very frequently made this kind of tweet. So sooner or later, this kind of coincidence would happen by sheer volume. Now, we are going to revisit the topic of people potentially having foreknowledge of the assassination, but at this point, as it stood, it was confirmed that none of these people were the killer, begging the question, who was actually behind the assassination? A whole day and a half after the shooting, on the evening of the 11th, the pictures of the killer in a cap and dark glasses were released. One of Tyler's friends, who was in the same Discord server with about 18 other people, sent the picture to their chat, jokingly remarking that it looked like Tyler and asking him where he was at. Tyler responded saying that his doppelganger did it, to which someone else sarcastically
I think we're good. I think we just need to wait for it to smoke up.
The
mere
concept of Tyler doing such a thing was something his acquaintances wouldn't even consider. He was a seemingly intelligent guy, as his mother proudly bragged on Facebook about his 4.0 GPA. He was a mild-mannered indoorsman who gamed a lot, and although he wasn't a Republican like the rest of his family, he also wasn't even registered to vote and didn't express his opinions that much. Because of this, the rest of his server continued to joke about turning him in to collect the $100,000 bounty on the killer, which was eventually raised to $1.2 million, or they made recommendations that Tyler not go to a McDonald's anytime soon, referencing the notorious case of Luigi Mangione, who was caught on CCTV when he stopped to get something to eat. Tyler even contributed some jokes about himself, saying he should get rid of this manifesto and exact copy rifle I have lying around.
Perfect.
Over a few messages, he said, I heard the ammo had something about trans stuff on it, but they aren't releasing photos or exact quotes. And also, the claim wasn't backed by the official FBI, just some dude in the briefing room. I am actually Charlie Kirk. Wanted to get out of politics, so I faked my death. Now I can live out my dream life in Kansas. Now, there is some justified debate as to whether the other people in this Discord knew the full extent of Tyler's intents and actions before, during, or after the murder of Charlie Kirk. Partly, it's because these messages were provided voluntarily by one of Tyler's friends, meaning they could have either been tailored by this friend in such a way to exclude anything that would incriminate any other members of the server, or it could mean that due to this friend's forthcoming cooperation with law enforcement, he was given a degree of privilege or protection. While it's highly likely that at least one member of this Discord was aware of Tyler's crimes, it's also likely that multiple, if not the majority of the members had no idea. And some of them even expressed grief over the assassination, remarking that Charlie didn't deserve it. Regardless, Tyler definitely seemed intent on keeping people under the impression that he was innocent, and this includes
I'm not exactly sure how you would even prove that, oh, we know he knew. Like, how would you be able to prove that? That would be my only question.
Included his family. For nearly 2 whole days, he kept his family in the dark, and he probably would have strung them along for longer if he could. But on the evening of the 11th, Tyler's father, Matt, saw the pictures of the killer on the news. To his unimaginable shock, he saw his son being reported about on national television for having murdered Charlie Kirk. Despite his utter shock and disbelief, Matt went to his son and simply asked him, Tyler, is this you? This looks like you. Tyler immediately
Son, I've seen you wear this exact shirt. Is this you? And I feel so bad for the dad.
Confessed. But when urged to turn himself in, he responded, "I would rather take my own life than turn myself in." Matt promptly contacted their local Mormon bishop, Scott Messinger, and asked him what he should do, who said that despite the risk of Tyler ending up getting the death penalty, they had to turn him in, which his father did, while also refusing to accept the reward money from the FBI. Knowing that his fate had been sealed, Tyler felt the urge to come clean to his friends on Discord. "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff in a few moments. Thank you for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything." There was no immediate response, and only much later, one of the members sent a message asking that the others pray for Tyler. At 11 p.m. that day, the cops came and arrested him, though what was supposed to give the public some relief ended up just raising even more questions. However,
there are some people out there that really do put their church or God above all that, above government, and that, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's foolish. I'm just going to say that it makes more sense. It makes sense, and I would not want to be that father in that situation. It would be very difficult for me to if it were me, it would be very difficult to turn my own son in for something he did. Sucks. Feel bad for the dad.
Controversial this was initially, establishing Tyler's motive was the easiest part. The casing clearly antagonized Kirk as a fascist. His family remarked that he had recently expressed that Charlie Kirk was full of hate, and his growing left-wing sentiment coincided with his distancing from his family's Mormon religious practices. The fact that he committed the crime was also an easy task to prove, as they forensically recovered a note that he had written and attempted to dispose of, wherein he said, "I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." On one of his devices, they also found communications with a roommate, not named in the affidavit, about needing to retrieve his rifle. This leads me to think that he acknowledged he'd made a mistake in leaving his weapon behind and wanted to go back to get it. But he took too long, and law enforcement got to it first. With the weapon and the towel it was wrapped up in, they found DNA that was a match for Tyler's. As far as the crime itself, it looked pretty open and shut. That is, until further consideration was given to other people being potentially involved in the lead-up. You see, soon after his capture, Tyler went completely silent and has refused to cooperate with the police, which led the public to discovering en masse that a lot of the finer pieces of information about his online activities came from someone else. While the roommate was initially anonymous, that didn't last long. As a neighbor of Tyler's came forward,
"We got her. We got that son of a. We got this bitch. We got this son of a bitch's fucking girlfriend. Let's get her."
To speak with the media, and
although it doesn't really look like a girl.
I mean, the topic came up, and the neighbor claims to have witnessed them.
It did not look like a man. All right, all right. Money on the table. I think his girlfriend's trans, but I don't know for sure.
Together.
Were they holding hands?
Yeah, they were. So, yeah, they drove off in his car, the Dodge Challenger.
And so they look like they were couples?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some published reports out there that this individual, the roommate, may have been transitioning. Did that correlate with what you saw?
Yeah, definitely. I remember them talking about a doctor's appointment. It was about 2 weeks ago, I would say.
And they were kissing?
Yeah.
Do you know, where did you see them kissing?
Just coming out.
While there was some initial pushback to the narrative that Tyler was in a relationship with this roommate of his, this testimony from his neighbor went a long way to solidify this in the public sphere. An unknown source in law enforcement had already attested to the same story. And with this much scrutiny and
yeah, but I'm sorry, you guys may agree or disagree. I don't really trust anonymous sources. Sure, maybe it's lethality. Come on, man. This may be an anonymous source, but it's coming from a reputable news agency. And no, I still don't trust it. These 28 anonymous women came out and said that this man raped them. I don't really trust that story. Not because I don't believe women. It's just, I'll believe a story more. I'll believe more testimony more if it comes from a face and a name. To me, that's a lot more trustworthy because you're risking something. You're risking something getting the truth out there. Versus oh, I need to hide my identity because I want to protect myself. Which, I mean, it makes sense why someone would want to do that. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard for me to like just really trust someone, especially nowadays.
Attention on something, keeping this person's name a secret was basically impossible. Eventually, people found Tyler's Venmo account where one name stood out, Lance Twiggs, who frequently received money from his mother for prescriptions and doctor's appointments, fitting what the neighbor had told the media. On Saturday, September 13th, the Daily Mail published an article identifying this transgender roommate and romantic partner of Tyler Robinson, with the person listed in the affidavit as a cooperator with law enforcement. In it, Lance's TikTok account.
Wait, a cooperator with law? Oh my God, she... You know what? Maybe she is a woman. What's that? My man did something wrong? Under the bus he goes. Under the bus he goes.
Cookies and Cream was attached, but most of that account's post consisted of gaming clips. It turns out this account was apparently shared with someone named Quinn, or Youngest Kami on Twitch, who didn't have any relation to Tyler. In turn, this led people to consider that this may not be Lance's main account. By simply checking the follows on it, you can find Lance's actual account, Lancelotl, although nothing related to Tyler can be found here, mostly because the majority of the posts come from long before Lance would have been his roommate. As this news grew to national proportions, relatives of Lance's began to speak out, claiming that Tyler and Lance hated conservatives and Christians. Going on to say, I think Tyler got a whole lot worse in the year they have been dating. They are big gamers, and obviously they have that group that influences them as well as others. Lance disclosed that he had a boyfriend, not to me directly. He wanted to have lunch with other family members to introduce his boyfriend. I was afraid he might hurt someone. Lance is not a healthy person. He's very angry with anyone who is supportive of conservative ideals and Christian values. As far as I know, he was not going by another name. I just know he was in the process of transitioning. I know he was trying to take different medications. Now, I should note that I'm exclusively going off of what's on the news, as misinformation related to this aspect of the story peaked on Twitter. But based on a collection of testimonies from multiple, and mostly anonymous, relatives who were spoken to by the media, both Tyler and Lance were black sheep of their families to different degrees. Tyler was mostly described as resigned from any social activity, being a big gamer since a very young age in a way that is almost disarmingly relatable. He wanted to develop games. His friends described him as fun to be around, despite being shy and quiet. Lance, on the other hand, was seemingly more outspoken and angry about his views, which was described by a relative, which signals a greater degree of comfort expressing them. This also fits their online presence, as Tyler had seemingly no significant public profiles, while Lance had multiple. This includes the aforementioned TikTok, a now privated Instagram account, and possibly the most revealing one out of all of them, a Reddit account. Before I get into the actual contents of Lance's Reddit, it's important to note that due to the lack of information up until this point, a lot of people resorted to creating imagined versions of this person that were convenient to their preconceptions. Some people were prone to immediately and completely exonerate Lance due to his cooperation with law enforcement. Others leaned toward the narrative that he was at least complicit, if not actively pushing or pressuring Tyler to do what he did. Unsurprisingly, neither of these assumptions were exactly true. His Reddit history goes back over half a decade, and up until 2024, there are several patterns we can pick up on. For example, very early on, around 2019, you can find references to jokes about killing furries, criticisms to J.K. Rowling for making Harry Potter characters gay.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So in his early Reddit account, it clearly shows that he was more of a, more edgy, more. What the fuck was that? Anybody hear that? I heard like a. Also, I probably shouldn't be walking around with my torch out. Put that away. That was weird. It says, all right, let's keep going.
And even positive comments on campaigns like "it's okay to be white," as well as criticisms of how black people were socially allowed to exclude white people from their spaces, but not the other way around. Clearly, in 2019, Lance wasn't what you'd call a staunch left-winger, to say the least. But something changed in 2020. Before, Lance often made positive posts relating to other Reddit users over his intent of getting his video game addiction under control, wanting to start lifting weights again, get good grades, and find a girlfriend. After 2020, one of the first significant posts on his account is him arguing with other people over transgenderism. Specifically, Lance can be seen calling his old self trans.
Okay, so I think what happened, all right, opinion. I think what happened is he heard about like the strife of the transgender person and decided, the transgender peoples, I should say. And then he was like, well, I feel bad for these people. I need to help them any way I can. And that's when his left wingness started to shine.
Transphobic, and claiming that children should be allowed to transition. It also seems he began exploring existentialist philosophy, taking an interest in Nietzsche and Stoicism as they related to managing suffering and negative/painful situations that you wish to be out of. By 2022, he was already posting to subreddits like femboy_IRL and r/196, both of which are well known for their predominantly trans user base. This isn't to say he was a conventional left-winger though, as multiple posts signaled that he was sufficiently far left, and that he no longer believed in political parties altogether, claiming that all they were after was money. Another interesting sign here is his continued investment not only in video games, but also in websites like 4chan, and more specifically, the R9K board. If you want a slightly deeper dive into what goes on R9K, you can watch my video about Reiko's femboy cult, but to make a long story short, it's infamous for being full of rabid incels, transgender people, and combinations of the two, all of whom are bonding over feeling socially excluded or otherwise dysfunctional. If you've been listening to what I've been saying, then I think you're starting to get the idea. All of this automatically put Lance squarely outside of the regular political.
Bro got sissified. Nah, it's so fucked up. Oh boy. Hey, how's it going? I don't know how to say that name. Tatiana? Tatiana, I think that's how you say it. We're just watching a video by TurkeyTom about the man who killed Charlie Kirk, the Tommy Robinson, I think his name was. Or Tommy or Tony Robinson. And right now we're on the part where they're talking about his Reddit account, where he was a not a staunch left winger, but more of just a normal gamer dude. And it would appear that he may have been potentially groomed into doing what he did. So yeah.
Spectrum. And although he was clearly left-wing, he definitely...
Or maybe not groomed, but maybe like coerced into it.
Felt ambivalent about a lot of issues. For example, in one instance, he actually made fun of people who got upset that the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthon, had donated to Republican politicians, and complained about incessant Russia versus Ukraine discussions creeping into the subreddits he frequented. At a surface level, Lance wasn't an extremely rigorous left-winger. He posted on the Jordan Peterson subreddit criticizing echo chambers and expressing his distaste for how much of the sub had been overtaken with political discussions, while also specifying that Jordan had been pivotal to his personal growth, complimenting his 12 Rules for Life book, and defending him from detractors. Another expression of his lack of political rigor is that while he posted a lot on a joke sub called Love for Landlords, which sarcastically praises landlords while depicting them as the most cruel and greedy capitalists imaginable, he also posted to r/no-working, which parodied the infamous leftist sub r/anti-work. But make no mistake, in spite of his overall lax attitude towards politics, there were some things he took more seriously, and he only grew to take them more seriously as time went on. First off, he unsurprisingly had a more concerned approach when it came to gender ideology, condemning misgendering, and even raising an issue with how the left commodified the trans rights cause. Oddly enough, his post about it is on the r/anarcho-capitalism subreddit, although it doesn't seem like Lance has any other activity associated with libertarianism, besides a few passing comments on the legalization of drugs. Before he had any cohesive political beliefs, from a young age, Lance struggled with substance abuse.
What is this?
While he
Is
took
this...
an interest in subreddits like
this is right. Hell
and
yeah.
r/acid, it's his post on r/alcoholism that is the most revealing out of all of them. In a
Okay,
reply to someone talking about how alcohol can cause blackouts, he wrote, "I appreciate the resources."
Wait, wait, r/alcoholism? Wait, is that an animal? Fuck, that's a wolf. Actually, no, yo, fuck this wolf. Hey, yo, fuck you, buddy. Ooh, you like that? Ooh, you like that, bitch? Ooh, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're about... Go with God, fucker. Yeah, bitch, fucking loser. Holy shit, he fucking got me good. Holy shit, you see my health down there? Dude, if I fell in that hole, I would be so fucking mad. Oh, God. just eat some raw rye real quick. All right, back to the, what was I saying? Sorry, give me a moment. This guy posted on r/alcoholism, and I'm just sitting here like, really? But you can't hold your beers, little boy, little man.
I'll definitely read through the Alcohol Explained book. The blackout piece was solid. I don't think about choking. I am so glad I can't fall asleep on my back. It kinda saved me there, lol. I kinda feel like it's too late on the addiction part, because I did a ton of weed earlier in my teens, and I can tell it messed with my energy and attention levels. And I mean this in no edgy or depressing way, but I don't really see myself making it past about 25 at this rate, so I'm not too worried about the long-term effects.
Damn.
I think I'll wait until legal age at least to try any alcohol again though. While this is quite revealing on its own, with Lance expressing a certain degree of hopelessness about his own life expectancy, it gets more interesting when you check the other comments on this thread and notice he's replying to all of them. Based on this, despite the original thread now being deleted and having its contents, as well as who created it, hidden, the Wayback Machine reveals what was originally there. In the thread's body, Lance, who would be 19 or 18 at the time this thread was made, tells a story in which Lance drank anywhere from half to a whole bottle of 40% vodka in 2 hours, while simultaneously being high, blacked out, and waking up with vomit everywhere. Clearly, there was something wrong with him. And other posts also have him talking about suffering from bulimia. Although there are some associations between eating disorders and substance abuse, and also with both of those things and gender dysphoria, what's important to focus on here is how it all contributes to his aforementioned hopelessness. The idea that he'll be dying soon no matter what. Based on other posts of his, Lance identified himself and his friends as abandoning religious beliefs, and even described a situation in which his family basically disowned him relating to it. While this matches the testimony of one of...
I bet what he did, I bet he sat there and was told his parents that like, oh, I'm an atheist now, I'm sorry. And then his parents were like, what? But son, we raised you based off the Mormon tenets. How could you say that you don't believe? Oh son, why? Why? I imagine they probably didn't actually like disown him because, or maybe they did. I don't really know. You know, nobody really knows. I just think it's kind of silly to like disown your child over I don't believe in God anymore, and then it's like, you're not my son. I hate you. Die.
Lance's relatives, it doesn't tell the full story, as he continued to live with his family for a good while after. Even after he moved out to be roommates with Tyler.
Literally exactly what I fucking said. Great.
Venmo shows he continued to get money sent to him by his parents, and it's quite likely they helped them with their housing, since the place they shared cost $1,800 a month. And as far as is publicly known, neither of them had very good jobs to afford that kind of place. Even if they had issues with them, both Lance and Tyler appeared to receive continuous support from their families, despite their lifestyle. While there has been a lot of conflicting information about this, Lance was indeed undergoing a transition, at least as of a year ago, as he could be seen talking about the effects of HRT on r/trans DIY about a year ago. Soon after that, about 10 months ago as of me writing this, he already mentioned having a boyfriend, which which coincides with the reports he was in a relationship with Tyler. There's one last bit of info that I think is worth correcting. There's been some speculation that Lance's Instagram bio having the word fish finder is some kind of coded message about grooming minors into becoming trans. While that is a very real phenomenon, with the likes of Giggly Goon Clown being obsessed with doing exactly that, in this case, it's incorrect. Not only is Lance on the record years ago talking about how much he liked going fishing, but he also has some posts criticizing online trans communities for calling other people eggs, which basically means they're trans but haven't discovered themselves yet. With all of this established and paired with testimonies from their relatives, there was nothing particularly unusual about their upbringing. This extremely sad and dark picture from Tyler's mom's Facebook shows him in 2013 playing a game on his computer. Lance is no different, although instead of performing really well academically like Tyler, Lance actually seemed more socially well-adjusted and artistically inclined.
My name is Lance Twitch. I am playing country concerto for pianists, and I like piano because it gives me something other than playing video games to do with my fingers.
But from 2019 to 2024, both of them slowly moved from somewhat apolitical to left-wing, with a large emphasis on the topic of trans rights. While Lance's was well documented through his own Reddit, Tyler's was quieter, but there, nonetheless.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, you're not gonna, maybe, like, your parents may be like, oh, I'm right-wing or I'm left-wing. Your parents may be right-wing or left-wing, but, you're not always gonna, over time, you'll change your opinion based off of, like, shit you see.
A former classmate of his described him as being a Reddit kid. Seemingly, just like something happened in 2020, a similar effect took place in 2024 when Lance and Tyler moved in together, and their families started to notice both of them feeding off of each other and becoming more politically inclined. For a few days after the assassination, the exact dynamic between them was unknown, but just a few days ago, their final Discord messages to one another were released, and they read as follows. Tyler, drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard. Lance, what? You're joking, right?
I'm sorry. I'm so fucking brain rotted. I heard him say that and I just thought, Tyler, I have something big to show you. Check under your foreskin.
Here, Tyler is referencing the note I had mentioned earlier that had been destroyed and was recovered, where he declared he was going to take Charlie's life. Their conversation continued. Tyler, I'm still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this a secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Lance, you weren't the one who did it, right? Tyler, I'm sorry. Lance, I thought they caught the person. Tyler, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet. Almost quiet enough to get out. But there's one vehicle lingering. Lance, why? Tyler, why did I do it? Lance, yeah. And Tyler responds with the following diatribe. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Lance, how long have you been planning this? Tyler, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if
I think I gotta make it back. Oh God.
Rifle. I don't even know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find
it. It shows like how young he is, that he's worried about prints. It's not prints you have to worry about, kiddo. All right, a temporal storm will be hitting shortly. It shows how like his youth, like he's probably saw a bunch of movies when he was a kid. He's like, oh my God, if they have my fingerprints, they'll get me. The reality is they already have everything they need, man. Like from where they know where you were standing, they have they probably have your shoe print. Yeah. See that like temporal storm is imminent. Yeah, they have your shoe print. They have your fingerprints. Sure, they have the bullet casings. Dog, think, all right, you breathed. You walked to a location. They have you on camera. They got you. They got you before you even realized. It's like, the reality is, they got you before you even realized it.
Fine prints. How will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge ooh-woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very
Oh yeah,
unique.
here comes the
He's
temporal
calling me
storm.
right
Here it
now,
is.
not answering. Since Trump got into office, he has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm gonna turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. Lance, I'm much more worried about you. Tyler, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. While Lance did follow Tyler's wishes on the first request, he didn't on the second, as he did cooperate with law enforcement extensively as per the affidavit. Now, if you're wondering about the visuals for the messages on screen, those are not the actual screenshots, but instead depictions of what the messages would look like. However, the contents of the messages are genuine. It's technically possible that Lance and Tyler coordinated this exchange before.
There are things whispering in my ear.
Any cooperation, given the pretty performative nature of some of Tyler's messages especially. Given they did live together and shared political views, it's not impossible. But at the same time, it's also possible that, indeed, Tyler concocted and carried this plan out on his own. Given Lance was more expressive and even-minded, while Tyler was much harder to read even by his close friends, it could be that the latter was a ticking time bomb, and his political beliefs about Charlie Kirk, paired with his attachment to Lance, who was trans, were enough to set him off. As it currently stands, Tyler is potentially facing the death penalty, and Lance is nowhere to be seen or heard from. For many people, this was case closed.
Probably for the best.
People have pitched the possibility that even if Lance had no foreknowledge, it doesn't mean other people
Probably for the best this guy does get the death penalty, to be honest.
couldn't have. Beyond those I've mentioned earlier in the video, there were a few other suspicious details surrounding the whole incident. For example, a neighbor of theirs claimed that 2 weeks prior to the attack, several people driving cars with out-of-state plates were seen going in and out. Additionally, there were a couple of Change.org petitions by locals who were vehemently opposed to Charlie Kirk speaking at the university, and some of the comments got pretty questionable. Besides the name-calling and political accusations, there were some comments like, "No tolerance for Nazis like Kirk. Stop the speaking or someone else will." Of course, this could just be someone making a baseless threat due to how they felt about Charlie, but it goes deeper.
Of course.
A day prior to the assassination, a now deleted TikTok account called Definitely Not Jackson made a post with the captions, "Charles James Kirk, Mr. College Dropout, does not know what's coming tomorrow. Be ready. This isn't a threat. It's a promise. It's a bad day to be Charlie tomorrow. #UVU. Again, this could just be a reference to the debate itself, as some illusion that Charlie will get owned or something in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah,
But
I was
there's
gonna
also
say.
more. 5 days prior to the shooting, a Twitter user named Fuyoshi Incel said, "You guys, I have something big coming soon. Just be sure to check the news. You'll know it when you see it. Winky emoji face." And within a few hours of the assassination, he came back to say, "Well, that's that. Another chud bites the dust." This account currently appears to be completely gone. Lastly, a TikTok and Twitter user who followed Lance Twiggs by the name of Churbum75M, as soon as the attack took place, tweeted out, "We did it." Adding insult to injury, he followed it up with, "Charlie Kirk deserved that. Let it die." On his TikTok, he set his account to the picture
They're just screaming like, "Evil dies tonight."
of the moment Kirk was shot, along with
like what, in his
other
neck,
vile
yeah.
posts about it. By merely searching up his handle on Twitter, it's easy to find that just days prior, he was in hot water for insincerely apologizing for making offensive jokes in a Discord server. With all of those elements put together, this matched the profile of unconventional leftists that would be expected. Churbum eventually shared conversations he'd had with a friend of his, where his friend is saying, "We aren't even old enough to hold a gun without a weapon charge." But of course, at this point, the the concern wasn't that anyone besides Tyler actually did it, but instead that other people knew that he would beforehand. He eventually made a tweet claiming that it was all a misunderstanding and he was just an immature teenager scared for his life. Despite tweeting out many times afterwards asking to be left alone and saying that joking about people dying is wrong, Surebum continued to make light of what happened, leading many people to be suspicious. Whatever the case is with any of these specific accounts, people are innocent until proven guilty. And I'm not making this video to endorse doxing anyone because of what they post on Twitter. If there is genuine suspicion, it should be handled by the authorities. And on the 16th of September, nearly a week after the incident, it was announced by the FBI that there were a lot more than 20 people in Tyler's Discord chat, and that all of them were now under FBI investigation. Another interesting claim is that there was a broad network of groups with intel on Kirk's assassination and the subsequent announcement of investigation of NGOs, although what exactly this means has yet to be seen. What it could be related to is the recent discovery related to the Utah-based group Armed Queers SLC. Founded in 2020, Armed Queers identified itself as a revolutionary LGBTQ organization whose principles included the end of capitalist oppression and trans liberation. At face value, it looks like nothing out of the ordinary.
Ignore that, don't worry about it.
But it was discovered that this group was founded and led by a certain Ermia Fanayan, who had won an award from the Utah Council for Citizens Diplomacy in 2022, was once listed by the Utah Global Diplomacy NGO as a young diplomat of Utah, and was listed as being on the payroll of the Utah State Democratic Committee. The scope of this kind of thing is unassumingly huge, as Ermia was a speaker at a UN-affiliated event, and the Utah Global Diplomacy received most of its income directly from government grants. As early as 2019, Ermia can be seen on stage alongside people like Elizabeth Warren. 4 years later, in January 2023, Armed Queers made now-deleted posts about working with the Elm Fork.
Okay, I think the storm's done.
2 years after that, just 2 months ago, on the 14th of July, 10 to 12 members of this gun club gathered near an ICE detention center, setting off fireworks and vandalizing vehicles with phrases like ice pig and traitor in an attempt to draw out officers. They then proceeded to open fire on several unarmed officers nearby, succeeding in killing none of them, but they did injure one officer in the neck. Immediately after, all of them were arrested and had their property.
What is with lefties and shooting like people in the neck?
Seized. Multiple of the people arrested had prior criminal histories of similar crimes. Of course, everything I'm saying here is circumstantial, but still, it seems to be enough that the FBI is currently investigating Ermia about her potentially having some relation, not just to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but also to any other similar crimes that have occurred recently. Ultimately, it's impossible to know just how much sprawl this kind of thing has, but considering how massive organizations and cults like the Zizians or 764 have gotten, it's best to sort this out as early as possible before any other crimes can take place. Whatever the case may be, it's an absolute tragedy that Charlie Kirk lost his life. To a lesser degree, it's also a tragedy that people like Tyler got to the point of committing such a crime. Hopefully, nothing of this kind ever happens again. I've been TurkeyTom. Thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
Yep. Banger video. Oh look, Tom's got some new merch.